Shalom, shalom. 1 Timothy and 4. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. So we're going to give all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of GMS, of Great Millstone Elders, right, who taught us this truth through the power and glory of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And this lesson is going to be edifying to the elect, all right, whether you hear or whether you forbear. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. It says, right, now the Spirit speaketh expressly, right? So this is the Spirit, right, expressing what's going to happen in the later days, right? This is Timothy's right spirit speaking in the latter days, right? It's telling them that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, right? And that's what's going on right now, man. That's what we're dealing with right now, man, with the Christian church, with the with all these deceptive religions and shit, man, right? They're not, these doctrines that are, false doctrines, kind of like, ISUPK saying, Moses fell out the truth, right? These doctrines, man, that are just, they're demonic, man, and, that's the times that we're in right now, man, right? We're in the times of evil and wickedness, man, right? We're in times of, the most wicked days, right? And I'm gonna read it again, man. It says, now the Spirit speaketh expressly, right? So the Spirit is telling, Timothy that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, right? So some might be in this faith, right? In this truth, right? But they're going to depart from this truth, right? Whatever the case may be, want to go back to their lifestyle, how they used to be, the old them, right? Or, not praying enough, not putting in enough effort and work, whatever the case may be, whatever Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai has planned, right? In the latter times, right, and that's in the latter times. It's speaking of now, right? Because we're in the latter days, right? And our precept comes to my mind where it says in the latter days, let me not butcher it. Roughly paraphrasing, some of us are going in the latter days. Some of us are going to turn back to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, right? So that's speaking. We're in the latter days, right? Because
hey, Mom, you got a copy?
Salakia. I'm at work, man, on this plantation. But let me turn this damn thing off. So, in the latter times, right? We're in those latter times. We're in those latter days, man, right? Because that's the time frame we're in, right? We got the signs. We see the signs of prophecy, being fulfilled. And, like I said, man, it's the time frame that we're in, right? So some shall depart from the faith, right? So just like some are going to, come into this faith, right, of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, some are going to, depart from this faith, right? Giving heed to seducing spirits, right? Following these deceptive spirits, these deceptive teachings, right? And doctrines of devils, right? And these doctrines are, these these lies, man, right? These false lies, right? And that's has a lot to do with the Christian church that we're dealing with too, man, right? Catholic, Hinduism, Judaism, all of it, man, right? All those religions that are made up by man, right? These religions that are nothing but institutions, right? They're they're deceiving, right? And a lot of people, man, are deceived, bro, by the especially by Christianity, man, right? Deceived, man, to the mass fullest, man, right? And let's actually jump to that. How many people are in Christianity, right? It said worldwide Christianity is approximately 2.6 billion adherents, right? Making up about 31.7% of the global population, right? So, 31.7% of the global population, right, are Christians, man, right? Catholicism, right, 1.3 billion, right? And the faith of Christians, right, continues to grow, heavily driven by high birth rates, right, because a lot of people are having children, and conversions in the global south, right? Approximately 62% to 69% of U.S. adults identify as Christian, man, right? Roughly 40% of the adult population is Protestant, 19% is Catholic, and about 3% identify with other Christian denominations. So, and it's telling you, right, the whole point is, man, 2.6 billion adherents, right, making up about 31.7% of the global population, right? And if you don't know what adherence means, adherence definition. Adherence is someone who supports, follows, or belongs to a specific religion, philosophy, or political party, right? So that's what we're dealing with, man, in today's society, man, right? Speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, right? And I went over a little bit of this in my last video, but this is the whole breakdown of 1 Timothy and 4. All right, and it says, right, in the NLT, these people are hypocrites and liars, and their consciences are dead, right? So speaking lies and hypocrisy, right? So being a hypocrite, right? So they're nothing but liars, and they're nothing but hypocrites, right? And that has a lot to do with the Christian church also, man, right? A lot of them, they go to church, right, do wicked ass shit, right, through Monday through Saturday, and then turn around, on Sunday, think that they can and then ask for repentance, and then it starts all over again, right? Through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Hawashai, right? We may make a few mistakes or whatever, coming into this truth, being just a little sperm cell at this shit, man, right? We may make a few mistakes, man, but the point is to keep the faith, right? Following the laws, the commandments, the statutes, right, to the fullest of our ability, right, and putting in 100%, putting in into this faith, man, right? Trying to whether we're making videos or whether we're out there on the highways and byways teaching, or whether we're just so like a step by step, learning things, right? Whatever the case may be, man, right? We the point is, man, to keep keep trying in this faith, man, right? To the 100% of to the most of our ability, right? You know, like me, I always use myself as a reference, right? I made mistakes coming into this truth, right? Being in this truth, right? You know, I knew about this truth, right? You know, I didn't, like I said, man, I made plenty of mistakes, man, right? And, I was given a gift, one too many times, right? And that's, through the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? But, I'm at the fullest, I'm not going to say the 100% fullest of my ability, because, there's never, I'm not, I don't want to say that there's never good enough, but, there's never good enough, right? So that's why we, a lot of the elders and prophets say we're trying to reach Yahweh Shai's level, right? Even though, we'll never be at that level, right? But we strive to get to that level, right? Because when we strive to get to that level, we're bettering ourselves, right? Self-betterment, right? And especially being in this faith and in this truth. But a lot of people, right? There's plenty of people that came in this truth and they made plenty of mistakes, man, right? But the point is to buckle down, right? And to learn, right? And start doing righteous, man, right? Being, the righteous to the righteousness of, your ability, man, right? No ifs, ands, buts about it, right? But these Christians, like I say, man, they got life, a little bit more fucked up, right? They do wicked shit and they pray on Sundays and then forgive, and they do wicked shit and then pray on Sundays and forgive, right? But see, in this truth, right, Yahweh Shai may only give you, 5 chances, right? Whatever the case may be, whatever your gift may be. He may give you one chance and, say, you're done, right? He may give you multiple gifts and say, and, hey, if you, run them you run them gifts out, man, what happens, man? The door closes on you, right? Because that can happen, man. That door can close on you in this truth, man, right? After you done, fucked up too many times and, steady fucking up, man. The Lord He's only going to deal with you, to a certain extent, man. So let's get to forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats, which Yahweh, right? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. Right? And we're going to read it in the NLT. It says, they say it is wrong to be married and wrong to eat certain food. Right? And this NLT version, man, is kind of, whatever, kind of, they try to get you with that shit, man, if you read it. But I'm going to read it in the KJV and break it down. Forbidding to marry, right? And commanding to abstain from meats. Right, so there's certain meats, right, dietary laws that we're supposed to follow in this truth, man, right? There's a certain dietary law, right? If Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai says no pork, there's no pork, right? But see, in this NLT version, it says they will say it is wrong to be married and wrong to eat certain foods, but the Lord created those foods to be eaten with thanks by faithful people who know the truth. Right? And that's, it ain't speaking of all foods, right? Because like I say, man, there's a dietary law, right? And a lot of these Christians, man, if the book says something, right? If the book says not to do, these certain things, right? Why do it, right? Get what I'm saying? Like, because if it says not to eat pork and shrimp, right? But people do it and they say, oh yeah, the Lord, will forgive me for my sins or whatever. Right? That's to be honest, man, it's just half-assed backwards, man. It's almost like Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is saying one thing and then saying another. No, he's not, right? He's saying one fucking thing. But these Jakes and these fucking Edomites, right? They don't understand that shit, man. Right? And these other nations, they just don't understand that shit, man. So forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats, right? And it's not talking about all meats, right? It's not talking about, just be a fucking vegetarian or whatever. It's talking about abstaining, right, from meats, right? Not meats as all meats, right? Certain kinds of meats, which Yahweh hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth, right? For every creature of Yahweh is good, and nothing to be refused if it be received with thanksgiving, right? And it's not talking, when it says for every creature of Yahweh is good and nothing to be refused, right? All creatures of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai are good, right? But it's not saying all creatures of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai are good to eat, right? It's not saying that, right? Because the point is, there's a dietary law in this Bible, right? So they look at, some of these verses and then think that, they discard the whole dietary law, right? But that's not the case, man, right? For every creature of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is good, right? Because these animals are good, right? They're created for their own reason, right? Like fish, right? Fish have a certain cycle, right? Like worms and cockroaches and whatever the case may be, deers, right? It's a life, it's a nature cycle, right? That's taking place, right? Certain animals eat certain things, certain animals are in the environment for these specific reasons, right? It's all through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. He created it. So we can't second guess, right, these things, man. For every creature of Yahweh is good and nothing to be refused, right? If it be received with thanksgiving. Now let's read what it says, thanksgiving, right? It's not talking about, Thanksgiving on, that false ass holiday, right? It's saying thankfulness, right? The giving of thanks, right? If it be received with thankfulness, right? So let's read it in the NLT. It says, since every creature Yahweh created is good, we should not reject any of it, but receive it with thanks, right? And like I say, man, that's not, talking about eating, these things, right? These things that we don't supposed to eat, right? Because we have a dietary law, right? That's why that's why I say, man, people will read this scripture, right, and then discard the dietary law. Like Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai ain't create the dietary law for a reason, right? Because that's how these jakes work, man. That's how these Edomite work, man. They discard the dietary law because they read these scriptures and think that it's okay to eat whatever, man. All right. For every creature of Yahweh is good, right? Because all these creatures are good, man. Regardless, right, of how we see it, right, or anyone else sees it, right? I see it as these creatures are good, right? They're in this environment for a reason, right? Just like the clouds are clouds for a reason, right? They pick up like precipitation or whatever. However, the cycle of precipitation, right? The sun rays retrieve water, goes up into the clouds and then comes back out into precipitation, right? It's just, the point is these cycles are here for a reason, man. And for everything, right, has a cycle, right? Like fish have a cycle on how they live, right? Just like deer, just like us humans, man, right? and nothing to be refused, if it be received with thankfulness, right? For it is sanctified by the word of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai in prayer. And let's see what sanctified means, man. We always gotta look up these words, man. In the inner, it is sanctified, right? Right? It means to purify. Right? If I'm not playing, for it is purified by the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? And it's not talking about eating these fucking all creatures, man. Right? It's talking about the creatures that we are allowed to eat, right? For it is sanctified, right? For it is purified by the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai in prayer, right? Because at the end of the day, man, I can say it over and over, there is a dietary law. If thou put the brethren in remembrance of these things, right, thou shalt be a good minister of Yahweh Shai of Mashiach, nourished up in the words of faith and of good doctrine, whereunto thou hast abstained, right? So if you put the brethren in remembrance of these things, right? So our former brothers out here, man, brothers and sisters, right? Right? Because we teach to all, right? Because we, a lot of these Israelites out here, man, some of them may look like the heathen, right? But they're not the heathen. They're actually Israelites, right? So that's why we teach the word of this gospel, right? And all words got to hear this truth before the end comes, and that's a precept. But I'm not gonna jump to it, so I don't want to lose my place. But yeah, man, all word. But if you want to look up, all nations have to hear this truth before the end comes. You'll get that scripture, man. Matter of fact, let's look it up. Nations end. I think that's Matthew 24:14. And this gospel, right? This truth of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, right? So all nations have to hear this truth, not just, the Israelites, right? Not just, the 2/3 of our people, right? All nations, right? And then shall the end come. Slack. So, if thou put the brethren in remembrance of these things, because that's what we're supposed to do, man. All nations got to hear this, right? But, the brethren, right? The brethren, these, the sisters out here, man, they got to hear this truth, man. So if thou put the brethren in remembrance of these things, right, thou shalt be a good minister of Yahweh Shai Mashiach, right? So if you could put, if thou put the brethren in remembrance of these things, right? So, these laws, these statutes, these commandments, right? The dietary laws, certain things, man, trying to, pretty much, you let me put it like this, man. You got a fork, and you baby feeding them, right? Right? That's what you want to do, man. You want to baby feed this to them, man, right? Let them learn little by little by little, right? Let them get the understanding, right? So if thou put the brethren in remembrance of these things, thou shalt be a good minister of Yahweh Shai and Mashiach, nourished up in the words of faith, right? The words of faith, right? And let's look up what the words of faith mean, man. What does the words of faith mean? Words of faith, right? Vocalizing trust in Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's promises rather than focusing on fear, doubt, or negative circumstances, right? So the believers of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai encourage each other to speak words that align with biblical promises, right? Biblical prophecies. For example, saying Yahweh will see me through this instead of I am never going to survive this, right? And that's a good term, man. It is used as a tool for personal encouragement, prayer, and strengthening one's spiritual endurance during tough times, right? So having faith in Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, right? Words of faith, right? Words of faith. Trust in Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, right? And of good doctrine, right? Right? Righteous doctrine, no false doctrine, right? Good teachings, right? Whereunto thou hast attained, right? But refuse profane and old wife fables, right? And exercise thyself rather unto godliness, right? So do not waste your time arguing. It says in the NLT, do not waste your time arguing over godless ideas and old wives' tales. Instead, train yourself to be godly, right? So I'm gonna go back to the Timothy 1 and Timothy 4 and 7 in the I'm gonna read it in the KJV. But refuse profane and old wives' fables, right? And let's look up, what does old wives' fables mean? Superstition, or a piece of advice that is passed down through generations but is unscientific or untrue, right? So, but refuse profane and old, right? Untrue things, right? Which are things that are passed down from generations, right? And how are these things passed down from generations, right? Through your family tree. Like Christianity may have been in your family for 100 years, and guess what? It's being passed down to you, right? Right? So refuse that, right? But refuse profane and old wives' fables, right? Like it says, man, things, a traditional belief that is unscientific or untrue, and exercise thyself rather unto godliness. So exercise yourself, right, unto godliness, right? Pure, being purified through the faith, right, through the truth of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. For bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, right? So for body exercise profiteth little, right? So your body, you can go exercise, right? And all, whatever the case may be, right? Go to the gym, first and foremost, speaking to myself, go to the gym or whatever, right? For bodily exercise profiteth little, right? So it only does little, right? But godliness is profitable unto all things, right? So this truth, right, being godly, being pure, being a righteous man, right, of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, is profitable unto all things, right? So that's of all things, right? So no matter what you do, right, how good you eat, how much you exercise, it'll never be as good as being a righteous man, right? Because you can do all those things, right? You can be the most fittest man on the planet, right? But still be unrighteous, right? Having promise of the life that is, and of that which is to come, right? And what is that speaking of having the promise of the life that now is, right? And that's speaking of this truth, man, right? Because the life that we have now, right, before, right, that we have now is being in this truth, being righteous, right? And being of this truth is better than all things, man. And of that which is to come, right? So having promise of the life that now is, right, of this truth, right, that now is, and of that which is to come, right? Because better things are to come on the other side of this, man, right? Especially for the elect, man. Especially for the elect, man. And let's read it in the NLT. Physically training is good, but training for godliness is much better, promising benefits in this life and in the life to come, right? So the benefits of this truth in this life is being righteous, man, right? Being a part of this truth, right? Being a part of this faith. That's the biggest, that's the biggest thing, man, right? Like it said, man, that's more profitable than anything. And the life to come, right? And the life to come, right? The next, in the kingdom, right? This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptation, right? This is trustworthy saying, and everyone should accept it, right? So this is faithful saying, and worthy of all acceptation. So this truth, man, right? This is faithful, worthy of all acceptation. So we should accept this truth. For therefore we both labor and suffer reproach, because we trust in the living God, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, who is the Savior of all men, specifically of those that believe, right? Those that are in this truth, that believe in and have faith in Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. And let's see, what does it mean? Let's go in here and say, what is the meaning of reproach? To express disapproval, criticism, or disappointment towards someone for their actions, right? And that's what it's really talking about, man, right? So we suffer, right, criticism being in this truth, man. We suffer disapproval, right, being in this truth, man. A lot of people don't like us, and whether we, even though we don't give a damn, but the point is, man, we suffer these things, man, right? Because we trust in the living God, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, who is the Savior of all men, specifically of those who that believe. These things command and teach. So these things command these things, right? Let's talk about these things, these scriptures, right? Command and teach, right? Teach these things, man. Let no man despise thy youth, right? But be thou an example of the believers, right? So don't let no man despise you. Don't let no man make you think different, right? But be thou an example of the believers, right? So we got to be an example of the believers, man, the ones in this truth. In word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity, right? Till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine, right? So that's till I come, give attendance to reading, right? So read these scriptures, man, right? Read. To exhortation, right? Let's see what exhortation means, man. Exhortation meaning to address, communicate, urging someone to do something, right? So, to read, right? To exhortation, right? To communicate, teach this truth, man, whether they hear or whether they forbear. That's why we do what we do, man. To doctrine, right? To teach the correct doctrine, right? To doctrine, right? And let's see what it means when to doctrine meaning, right? Salakia. To doctrine meaning. Set of belief, principles, teaching held by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? So, the teaching of these scriptures, man. Neglect not the gift that is in thee, which was given in thee by prophecy with the laying on the hands of perversity, right? So the hands of the elders, man. So neglect not the gift that is in thee, right? So don't neglect this truth, man, right? Don't keep, I gotta get back on this plantation, so I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. But don't neglect the spiritual gift that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai has given us, right? We make mistakes, right? We all have, man, at the beginning of this truth, right? But the point is, man, to have faith in Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, to keep doing better, man, right? To try to be as righteous to the most righteous of your ability, man, right? Not giving up, right? Not fucking up and then giving up, man, right? Because we all made mistakes, man. We're, us that are in this truth, that started off in this truth, man, we're little seeds at this shit, man, right? We're little sperm cells, man. These elders and apostles been in this truth for years, man, right? But that doesn't mean, keep fucking up, man, right? Especially when you first get into this truth, right? Doesn't mean keep fucking up over and over, right? You make a couple mistakes, learn from your mistakes, right? That's the point. Learn from your mistakes, right? It's almost like, a baby riding a bicycle, man, right? She turned too hard to the left and she fell, right? Now she got back up. She tried it again, right? She learned from her mistake not to, turn left too hard next time, man. Same concept, man, right? Which was given to thee by prophecy, right? So this gift, right, through the power and glory of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai was given to us, right, by prophecy. So it was already prophesied that we was going to get, that us certain people was going to get this truth, man. We was going to get this understanding, right, with the laying on the hands of, right, the elders, man, the elder bishops, man, right, and the apostles. Mediate unto these things, right? So, give attention to these things, man. Give thyself wholly to them, right? That thy profiting may appear to all. Take heed unto thyself and to the doctrine, right? So take heed unto thyself, right? And let's see what take heed means. Take heed meaning. And I know what it means, but I'm gonna break it down. To pay close attention, to be careful, or take notice of a warning, right? So pay close attention unto thyself, right? And unto the doctrine, right? Unto these scriptures. Continue in them, right? Continue in them means continue learning these scriptures, continue reading, continue in this truth and in this faith. For in doing this, thou shalt both save thyself, right? So we should save ourselves from in this truth, man. I mean, Salakia, we should save ourselves, right? Especially in this world, right? Spiritually and physically, man. Right? We should save ourselves, man. And them that hear thee, right? And them that hear us, right? Who hear this faith, man, right? Because some that hear this faith, man, they might wake up to this truth, right? Someone could hear what we teach, man, and they, how can I learn more? Da 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 da, right? So That's the point, man. So I'm going to end this lesson off by giving all honor, all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone.